I never thought my own daughter could betray me like this. I raised her, loved her, and gave her everything, only to wake up one day to strangers in my living room, renting out the house I built with my wife's blood, sweat, and memories. She lied, she manipulated, and she tried to turn our whole family against me. I had to fight for my home, for my dignity, and for the grandchildren she used as pawns in her greedy game. What she did was cruel, heartless, and unforgivable, but in the end, justice found its way. This is my story of betrayal, anguish, and revenge. A story of family, lies, and standing strong when the ones you love most turn against you. I want to tell you something that still makes my blood boil when I think about it. Imagine raising a child, giving her everything you could, watching her grow, helping her through college, supporting her when life got tough, only to wake up one morning and realize she's treating your home, your sanctuary, as if it were just another listing on some rental website. That's right, my own daughter decided to rent out my house behind my back. And when I found out, I had to do something I never thought I'd do in my entire life. I kicked strangers out of my own living room. Let me give you some background. My name is Robert. I'm 64 years old, retired, and living in the same family home I bought nearly 40 years ago with my late wife, Margaret. That house isn't just walls and bricks. It's where we raised our 2 children, celebrated birthdays, grieved losses, and spent countless nights together as a family. To me, it's sacred. My daughter, Emily, is 35 now. She has a good job, a husband, and 2 kids of her own. But she's always had this streak, impatient, ambitious, sometimes a little careless. Money has been tight for her lately, I know that. Inflation, bills, school fees, it adds up. I've helped her when I could, babysitting, small loans, covering emergencies. I didn't mind. That's what family is for. But I never imagined she would cross a line like this. One Sunday afternoon, I was coming home from my morning walk. The sun was shining, and I was humming to myself, just happy to enjoy the peace of retirement. When I walked up to my porch, I noticed something odd. There were 2 unfamiliar cars parked in my driveway. At first, I thought maybe my son had stopped by with friends. But as I opened the front door, I froze. There were people inside. A man in his 30s was sitting on my couch with his shoes off, watching my television. His wife was unpacking groceries into my kitchen. And upstairs, I could hear kids running around. I said, "Excuse me? Who are you? What are you doing in my house?" The man looked at me, confused, then said casually, "We're the renters. Emily said we could move in today." I swear, my heart almost stopped. Renters? Emily? My house. I marched outside, called Emily, and when she picked up, my voice was shaking. "Emily, there are strangers in my home. They say you rented it to them. What's going on?" She sighed like I was overreacting. "Dad, please don't freak out. It's just temporary. They needed a place, and you don't really use all that space. You could stay with me for a while. It's extra income for everyone." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This is my house, Emily. You don't just hand it over to strangers. But she argued back. "You don't understand. The mortgage payments, the bills, you're sitting on a gold mine. Why not let it work for you? You don't need all this anymore." Her words cut like a knife. This wasn't just about money. This was my life, my memories, my home. And she had reduced it to nothing more than a rental property. I turned to the man still lounging on my couch and said firmly, "I don't care what Emily told you. This is my house, and you need to leave. Now." He looked stunned, then angry. "We paid her deposit. She said it was legitimate." And that's when I realized the depth of the betrayal. Not only had Emily lied to me, but she had taken money from these people under false pretenses. I spent the next hour in the most surreal argument of my life. The family didn't want to leave. They insisted they had a contract. I had to threaten to call the police. I felt humiliated, standing there in my own living room, strangers glaring at me like I was the intruder. Finally, they gathered their things and stormed out, muttering about lawsuits and scammers. When the door closed, I sat in my chair and put my face in my hands. I was shaking. How could my daughter do this? That evening, Emily showed up at my house. She didn't look sorry. She looked annoyed. "Dad, why did you throw them out? Do you know how much trouble you just caused me?" I stood up and looked her straight in the eye. "No, Emily, do you know how much trouble you caused me? You tried to steal my home out from under me. You lied. You took money, and you let strangers into the place where your mother and I built a life." She rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic. I was trying to help. You're retired. You don't need this much space. Think about your grandchildren. That money could have gone toward their future." Her words didn't soften me. They hardened me, because I realized she wasn't thinking about me at all. She was thinking about herself, her needs, her convenience. The next days were tense. Emily kept calling, begging, sometimes even yelling, try to convince me to reconsider. She said I was selfish, that I was wasting potential. She even threatened that if I didn't agree, she'd cut me off from seeing her kids for a while. That broke my heart. Using my grandchildren as leverage? That was a line I never thought she'd cross. So I did something drastic. I called a lawyer. I made sure every legal document was in order so no one, not even my own daughter, could ever touch my house without my permission. When Emily found out, she exploded. She came over, shouting, "You don't trust me. I'm your daughter." I looked at her with tears in my eyes and said, "Emily, I love you more than anything. But trust has to be earned. And right now, you've lost mine." She left in a fury. The silence afterward was heavier than anything I'd ever felt. The moral? Family is sacred, but so is respect. You can forgive mistakes, but you cannot allow betrayal, especially when it threatens the very roof over your head. I never thought I'd have to protect myself from my own child. But sometimes, justice means drawing a line, even when it hurts. And when it comes to my home, the home that carries my wife's memory, my children's laughter, my entire life, I will never let anyone, not even blood, take it away. Because in the end, this wasn't just about a house. It was about dignity. And no amount of money can replace that. After that awful day, when I threw the renters out of my house, I thought maybe, just maybe, things would calm down. I had drawn my line in the sand. I had told Emily the truth straight to her face. But what I didn't realize was that she wasn't done. No, she was just getting started. Because if she couldn't take my house directly, she was going to take something else, my reputation in the family. The first sign of trouble came when my sister, Carol, called me out of the blue. Her voice was unusually sharp. "Robert, what's this I hear about you throwing Emily out in the street? With kids? What on earth is going on?" I nearly dropped the phone. Emily had been talking, but not just talking, twisting the story. "Carol," I said slowly, "I didn't throw her out. She tried to rent my house without my permission. I walked in and found strangers in my living room. But Carol cut me off. She told us you've been selfish, that you refuse to help her even when she's struggling. Robert, she's your daughter. Don't you think family comes first?" My blood pressure shot through the roof. Family comes first. Wasn't I the one who had bailed Emily out of trouble for years? Paid her bills when she overspent? Babysat whenever she needed? And now, suddenly, I was the villain? The following week was a nightmare. My phone kept buzzing with calls from cousins, aunts, even old family friends. Everyone had heard the story, and in every version, I was painted as the cruel old man who cared more about bricks and mortar than about his own grandchildren. At a Sunday dinner, my son David even confronted me. "Dad, Emily says you're hoarding the house and refusing to help anyone. Is that true?" I slammed my fork down. "Hoarding? David, that house is mine. I worked for it. I paid for it. I built every inch of it with your mother. And now your sister thinks she can just, what? Listen on some rental app like it's hers." Emily sat across the table with her arms crossed, calm as could be, watching the tension rise. Then she said softly, "You're making this harder than it has to be. Nobody's trying to steal from you. We just want you to share." Share. That word echoed in my head, as if my blood, sweat, and tears were just some pie that everyone else was entitled to slice up. The worst part wasn't even the lies. It was the manipulation. Emily started visiting other relatives, telling them I was losing it, that I was paranoid, that maybe it was time to start talking about guardianship. Guardianship, as if I was some senile old fool who couldn't handle his own affairs. One evening, my nephew knocked on my door. He's a lawyer, and he looked uncomfortable. "Uncle Robert," he said, "I don't want to upset you, but Emily asked me about the legal process for managing your estate. She said you're confused lately." I felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. My own daughter was plotting to declare me incompetent. That was her new angle. I sat him down and explained everything, every detail from the strangers in my house to the confrontation. He listened carefully, then finally nodded. Uncle, you need to be very careful. If Emily pushes this further, it could get messy. The next days were pure war. Emily wasn't ashamed to send me text messages like, Dad, you're being unreasonable. If you cared about family, you'd understand. Stop being selfish. Everyone agrees with me. And the one that broke me. If Mom were still alive, she'd side with me. That last message crushed me. My late wife, Margaret, was the heart of our family. To use her memory as a weapon against me, it was beyond cruel. I sat in the quiet of the house, staring at the photo of Margaret on the mantel. I whispered, what would you do? How do I fight this? And then it hit me. I'd already fought too long to protect this home. I wasn't going to roll over now. So I decided to fight fire with fire. If Emily wanted to rally the family, I would show the family the truth. The next Sunday, I invited everyone over, my kids, my siblings, even the cousins who had been whispering behind my back. When they all gathered in the living room, I stood up in front of them like I was giving a speech. I want you all to hear this from me, I began. My voice was shaking, but I didn't let it falter. 2 weeks ago, I came home to find strangers living in my house. Strangers that Emily had let in after taking their money. She never asked me, never told me. She lied, and when I said no, she went around telling you all that I'm selfish, that I don't care about my family. The room went dead silent. Emily's face turned red. She tried to interrupt, but I raised my hand. I have loved this family with everything I have. I supported Emily more times than I can count. But this house? This is not just wood and stone. This is my life, my wife's memory, and the one place in the world that is truly mine. And I will not let anyone, family or not, take that from me. I pulled out my phone and showed them the text messages Emily had sent me. The guilt-tripping, the threats, the cruel line about their mother. One by one, I saw faces change. People realized they had been lied to. Finally, Carol, my sister, spoke. Emily, is this true? Emily stammered. I was just trying to help. Dad exaggerates. But nobody looked convinced anymore. That night was the turning point. Some relatives still stayed neutral, but the tide shifted. People saw the truth. And for the first time, Emily's power over the narrative began to crumble. As she stormed out, she glared at me and hissed, "This isn't over." And I knew she meant it. The moral? Lies might spread quickly, but truth has a way of catching up. Emily thought she could twist everyone against me, but all it took was sunlight, honesty, to break her little web apart. Still, I know her. She's not done yet. And as much as it pains me, I have to be ready for the next storm. Because this isn't just about family anymore. This is about survival. After that family meeting, I thought maybe, just maybe, things would finally calm down. The truth was out. People had seen the texts. Emily's little scheme had been exposed. For a brief moment, I felt like I could breathe again. But the peace didn't last. No, Emily wasn't the type to accept defeat. And her next move was something I never thought my own child would do. She tried to drag me into court. It started with a letter. A thick white envelope, stamped from a law office. I sat at my kitchen table, opened it slowly, and my hand started to shake as I read. Petition for guardianship of Robert Miller. Guardianship. My own daughter was petitioning the court to declare me incompetent, too old, too confused, too unfit to handle my own affairs. She wanted control of my estate, which meant the house, which meant everything. I remember whispering to myself, she's really doing this. She's actually doing this. That evening, I called Emily. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just asked why. Her voice was cold, almost rehearsed. Dad, this is for your own good. You're not thinking clearly anymore. You're clinging to a house when you should be thinking about your grandchildren's future. This isn't about me. It's about family. I felt my throat tighten. Emily, I've never missed a bill. I've never lost track of my money. I'm fine. You know I'm fine. Why are you lying? She snapped. Because you're being selfish. You'd rather sit in that old house, alone, than help us. Mom would have agreed with me. You're just too stubborn to admit it. And then she hung up. The weeks that followed were some of the darkest of my life. I had to hire my own lawyer, gather medical evaluations, bank statements, everything to prove that I was competent. Imagine that, proving to strangers that you're not crazy just because your daughter says so. At night, I couldn't sleep. I kept pacing the halls of my house, staring at the family photos. Margaret's smile, Emily as a little girl holding her first bicycle, David's graduation. How did it come to this? How did the little girl I once carried on my shoulders turn into someone willing to strip me of my dignity? The court date came faster than I expected. I wore my best suit, the one I'd worn to weddings and funerals. My lawyer stood beside me. Across the aisle, Emily sat with her attorney, arms folded, eyes hard. She wouldn't even look at me. The judge asked questions. My lawyer presented documents. My doctor testified that I was perfectly sound of mind. And then Emily spoke. "Your Honor," she said, "my father is not the man he used to be. He forgets things. He gets angry over nothing. He doesn't trust anyone anymore. I worry about his safety. I worry about my children being around him." I felt my stomach twist. Angry over nothing? Distrustful? That wasn't confusion. That was betrayal. Of course I didn't trust her. She tried to steal from me. When it was my turn, I stood slowly, gripping the edge of the table. My voice shook, but I forced it out. "Judge, I am not incompetent. I pay my bills. I drive. I cook. I live alone, and I'm fine. What's happening here is not about my health. It's about greed. My daughter wants my home, the one I worked for my entire life, the one filled with memories of my wife. And when I told her no, she decided to punish me like this. She's not protecting me. She's attacking me." The room went silent. For the first time, Emily shifted uncomfortably. The judge didn't rule immediately. It took days. Those days felt like years. I was terrified, because if the court sided with Emily, I would lose everything. My house, my independence, my freedom. Finally, the decision came, petition denied. The judge stated clearly that I was of sound mind, capable of managing my own affairs, and that Emily's claims were unsubstantiated and concerning. I felt like I could breathe again. My lawyer clapped me on the back. I wanted to cry. But as I walked out of that courtroom, I glanced at Emily. She wasn't ashamed. She wasn't sorry. She was furious. She leaned toward me as we passed and whispered, "This isn't over." And she meant it, because what came next wasn't legal. It was personal. Emily started cutting me off from my grandchildren. Weeks would pass without a call, without a visit. When I asked if I could see them, she'd make excuses. "They're busy. They're sick. Maybe next month." I knew what she was doing. She was punishing me. She thought if she held my grandkids hostage, I'd give in. It broke me. I missed those kids more than anything. They were innocent. They had no idea of the poison their mother was spreading. One night, my grandson managed to call me for his mom's phone. His little voice whispered, "Grandpa, why are you mad at Mommy? She says you don't want to see us anymore." I almost dropped the phone. No, buddy. That's not true. I love you more than anything. Mommy and I just don't agree right now. But I will always want to see you." He started crying. And that was the moment I knew Emily wasn't just attacking me. She was weaponizing her children. The moral of this chapter? Sometimes betrayal doesn't come from strangers or even enemies. It comes from the people you raised, the people you trusted the most. And that pain, it cuts deeper than any knife. But I learned something else, too. I learned that I can't just sit back and hope this storm passes. Emily is relentless. If I want to keep my dignity, my home, and my relationship with my grandchildren, I'll have to fight smarter, harder, and stronger than ever before. Because this isn't just a family feud anymore. This is war. I thought things couldn't get worse after the court battle. I was wrong. Emily wasn't finished. If the guardianship attempt had failed, she had a new plan. And this time, it was even more shocking. It started with a call from my lawyer. His voice was tense. "Robert, you need to hear this. Emily's trying to sell your house." I almost dropped the phone. "What? That's impossible. She doesn't own it. There's no way." He interrupted. "She's forging documents. She's contacting real estate agents. Robert, she's serious." I couldn't believe it. My own daughter was trying to steal my life's work, my home, my memories, by forging papers and bypassing me entirely. That night, I confronted her. I found her at my kitchen table, laptop open, scribbled papers everywhere. Her eyes were hard, calculating. "Emily," I said, my voice shaking, "stop this right now. You can't sell my house. It's illegal. It's your home. It's mine. And it always will be mine. She didn't flinch. She just smiled a cold, thin smile. Dad, I'm just trying to make things easier for everyone. The market is hot. We can make a lot of money. You'd still get some, don't worry. I couldn't believe my ears. Make things easier? You're trying to steal my home. She shrugged. I'm thinking about the future. You can't live here forever. We all know that. I felt my face burn with anger. Emily, you're crossing every line. I raised you. I loved you. And this betrayal, it's unforgivable. Her response was chilling. Unforgivable? You're being dramatic. The world isn't fair, Dad. You got to be smart. Over the next few days, I discovered just how far she had gone. She had contacted real estate agents pretending to be me. She had forged signatures, and she had even invited potential buyers to tour the house. Strangers walked through my rooms like they had the right to be there, asking questions about appliances, square footage, mortgages. I was livid. I remember standing in my living room, shaking, pointing at the front door, yelling, "Get out. This is my house. You are not buying anything." The buyers froze. They didn't know who to listen to. And Emily, she just rolled her eyes at me, clearly frustrated that I was making a scene. Then came the real betrayal. Emily had started recruiting allies, relatives, and friends who had once supported me in the court case. She called them, telling them I was unstable and hoarding the house, trying to convince them to side with her. I got calls from cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, asking questions like, "Are you really keeping Emily from doing what's best for the family?" I felt like I was drowning. Everyone who had once believed me was now questioning me. One evening, my sister Carol came over. She looked torn, conflicted. "Robert, I don't know what to think. Emily says you're being selfish. Maybe you should." I cut her off, voice trembling. "Carol, I've done nothing but love this family. I've raised Emily, supported her, helped her every step of the way. And now she's trying to steal my home and turn everyone against me. How can you even consider this?" Carol didn't know what to say. She left without another word, shaking her head. Emily escalated further. She started planting ideas in my grandchildren's heads. She told them Grandpa didn't want them to visit, that I was selfish and mean, that they should spend more time with her instead. One night, I found my youngest grandson crying in his bedroom. "Grandpa, Mommy says you don't like me anymore," he whispered. My heart broke. I picked him up, held him close, and said, No, buddy. I love you more than anything. Your mommy is confused right now, but I will always want to see you." He nodded, tears soaking his pillow, and I knew Emily was using them as pawns. The tipping point came one Saturday. I was reviewing some bills when I noticed an email from a real estate agent, casually confirming an appointment to show the house. I couldn't take it anymore. I stormed into Emily's house. Her face went pale when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. "You're finished," I said firmly. "I have proof of everything you've done. The forgeries, the lies, the threats. You're done." She laughed bitterly. "You can't stop me. You're old. You're weak. The law is on my side." I pulled out the documents I had gathered, the forged papers, emails, recorded threats. "The law is also on MY's side, Emily. And if you try to touch my house again, it won't just be words. It'll be court, police, everything. I will protect my home, my memories, and my grandchildren from you." Her eyes widened. For the first time, I saw fear. And in that fear, I realized she had underestimated me. The moral of this chapter? Some betrayals go beyond lies or arguments. They try to erase your life, your history, everything you've built. And sometimes the only way to survive is to fight back harder than you ever thought possible. Emily thought she could steal my home, manipulate my family, and even trick me out of my grandchildren's love. But I learned that even in the darkest storm, truth and determination are stronger than deception. And as I watched her storm out that day, I knew one thing. The final showdown was coming. Because this battle wasn't just about a house anymore. It was about family, respect, and justice. And I wasn't going to lose. After the last confrontation with Emily, I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't stop now. She had pushed too far, gone too far, and I had to protect everything that mattered. My home, my memories, and my family. The first step was legal. I went back to my lawyer and laid everything on the table. The attempted sale, the forged documents, the manipulations, everything. My lawyer shook his head, impressed. Robert, you've got enough evidence here to not only stop her, but to get her penalized. This isn't just a civil matter anymore. It's fraud. I felt a mix of relief and anger. Relief because the law was finally on my side. Anger because my own daughter had forced me into this situation. The first blow came swiftly. Emily received a formal notice from her lawyer. Any attempt to sell, rent, or transfer the property would result in criminal charges. Her face, when she read it over the phone, priceless. She tried to argue, tried to manipulate again, but the law didn't care about excuses. Fraud is fraud. Then came the family reckoning. I sent a carefully written letter to all relatives, calmly explaining the truth. No anger, no drama, just facts. I included copies of emails, texts, and proof of forgery. At first, I worried they would side with her, but slowly calls started coming. My sister Carol was the first. Robert, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I should have trusted you from the start. One by one, family members reached out. Some apologized for doubting me. Some admitted they had been manipulated. And some even offered to help me repair the house after Emily's attempted chaos. Emily, however, was furious. She refused to talk for weeks, except through angry messages. You'll regret this. You're destroying our family. I didn't respond. I knew better. Every time she tried to pull me into another fight, I held my ground. My lawyer made it clear. Any contact meant potential harassment charges. And then came the most satisfying moment. Emily called one evening, trying to guilt me. Dad, the grandchildren are crying. You're pushing them away. I took a deep breath and said calmly, Emily, if you want your children to see me, stop lying about me. Stop trying to steal my home. Stop manipulating everyone. That's the only way they'll ever see me again. She hung up, and for the first time, I realized something important. She had lost control. In the weeks that followed, Emily's schemes unraveled. The real estate agents refused to work with her. Friends and relatives no longer listened to her lies. And most importantly, she started losing credibility with her own children. One Sunday, my grandson came running into my arms. Grandpa, Mommy said I can come visit. I held him tight and whispered, I'll never let anything happen to you here. That day, I realized something vital. Even when family members betray you, when lies spread, when people try to take everything you hold dear, you can fight back. And sometimes, justice doesn't come from anger or revenge. It comes from standing your ground and letting truth shine. Emily eventually stopped contacting me directly. She sulked, isolated, and lost influence in the family. She tried to repair her image, but the damage was done. Everyone saw her for what she was, manipulative, greedy, and disrespectful. I, on the other hand, rebuilt. I spent time with my grandchildren, repaired the house, and even invited family over for a small gathering to celebrate my wife's birthday. The home felt alive again. Laughter filled the rooms, memories were honored, and peace returned. And Emily? She learned a harsh lesson. She realized that betrayal doesn't pay. Lies can't hide forever. And no matter how clever or persistent she thought she was, the foundation of family, the truth, love, and respect, cannot be stolen. The moral of the story? Betrayal from someone you love can feel unbearable, almost impossible to survive. But when you stand firm, when you protect what is rightfully yours, justice has a way of catching up. Family is sacred, but so is respect. Boundaries must be honored. And sometimes the best revenge isn't yelling, fighting, or scheming. It's living your life with integrity, letting the truth speak, and watching karma do its work. As I sit in my living room today, surrounded by pictures of my wife, my children, and my grandchildren, I can finally smile again. Emily tried to steal my home, manipulate my family, and turn my life upside down. But in the end, she lost. And I gained something far more valuable: peace, dignity, and the knowledge that justice, slow, quiet, and unwavering, will always prevail. Because some things are priceless. And my home, my memories, my family, they are mine, and no one, Not even my own daughter can take that away.